I can't wait to show you my toys.
Hey everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to look at the DC Collectibles DC Comics Essentials, not to be confused with DC Essentials action figures, Swamp Thing figure. This appears to be a large deluxe figure. Now, I'm predominantly a Batman collector, but thought, you know what, I have a Swamp Thing figure. I really wouldn't mind having one. He appeared in the animated film Batman and Harley Quinn. Poison Ivy is, of course, a plant-based villain. It'd be really cool for her and Swamp Thing to interact sometimes. I happened to see this guy on Amazon.com for like $12, and I was like, let's grab him. I figured he was large, like 8 inches. This guy appears like he's probably going to be even taller than that. But we'll see. Packages can sometimes be deceiving. So, let's check out his package here. Pretty big guy in there. He's got that traditional sort of mustache out of Swamp Stuff. He looks pretty good. Kind of like a basic Swamp Thing, which is really what I wanted. The top here got Swamp Thing and sort of his font logo. DC Comics Essentials. You can see on the side here, Swamp Thing. This side got the guy sort of posed up. At the bottom, there is a barcode and a bunch of credits. On the back side, you can see a generic checklist for DC Comics Essentials. This is not a current line. This is sort of over. These are just sort of generic comic figures. I definitely have that Deathstroke and that Batman, that Joker, Harley and Nightwing, Batgirl. Really not too many others, although I actually have some of the heroes from a Justice League, I think, 7-pack. So with no further ado, let's open this guy up and see if he is cool or not. He looks badass. Hopefully he has some good articulation to go with that. Alright, now that we got this guy out of the package, here he is. Pretty tall, beefy looking Swamp Thing. Pretty classic and traditional look, which is exactly what I was going for. So this guy does not come with any accessories whatsoever. So let's go take a look at the figure here. As you can see, his face here, he's got red eyes in all the little crevices. He's got some dark shading, not just solid green, which I really do like. He's got this sort of stereotypical mustache looking thing above his nose going down. Looks like I imagine a Swamp Thing to be. I like the dark and all the crevices they painted on there. They could have just made this guy solid green, but they sure didn't do that. I must say I'm not really feeling the shoulder pad looking things. Beyond that, I'm liking almost everything I'm seeing so far. Looks like his articulation's more than just minimal, which is nice. Kind of see some fingernails in there. Some little bit of leaves or twigs sticking out of him. So far, he's good. He's going to serve that purpose I wanted for a Swamp Thing to encounter in case Batman ever encounters him. One thing cool on the back of his right leg, he's got that pink flower there. Nice little detail. To me, Alec Holland is always the true identity of Swamp Thing, but when I looked it up, apparently there's been several different Swamp Things over the years. Honestly, not 100% sure which one this is based off of. And then here's a closer look at him in the midst of all these plants. Now that we've taken a quick look at the figure, next let's check out the height of this figure. So this guy here is in the 7-inch scale of DC collectible figures, but Swamp Thing's a little bit bigger than that. So this guy here, from bottom to top, is sitting at about 9.0 inches, ends up being about 23 centimeters tall. Next, let's check out his articulation. So this guy here, of course, his head, it can go from side to side. It can look down a little bit and up just a little bit, not too far. Got a ball joint there, and it can tilt a little bit from side to side. His shoulders are on a ball joint. They go out just about 90 degrees, not quite. They can also go up and down, rotate all the way around. He's got a bicep cut below that. He has single jointed elbows. They don't even go a full 90 degrees. It's a little bit disappointing there. His wrist simply rotates around. No ball, no hinge. Nothing going on in the middle here. His ab is one giant solid piece. His hips here, a little bit impressive though. Of course, they can go forward and back. They have a ball inside of here that has articulation at the base. And his leg can also move independently against that. Can go forward, really not too much, about that far. Back just a little bit. And out about that far. So even though it's an interesting design with a ball and articulation on both parts, really doesn't give you a lot. He does have a double jointed knees. Go back about that far. There is a swivel at the top there. Then his feet here, of course, they can go up and down, and they can kind of rotate and rock from side to side. Next, let's check this guy out compared with some other action figures. Now, I don't have a lot of Swamp Thing figures in my collection. I'll show them with what little I do have. Notice in the background here on the right hand side, that playset there is an old Kenner Swamp Thing playset. Nice little background piece for him. I keep that in my Poison Ivy area for the most part. Here he is next to a whole bunch of little 5-inch Kenner Swamp Thing figures from back in the day. I got these on eBay for a really cheap price, and I use them for Poison Ivy little plant monster type guys. So let's continue to check them out next to some various plant creatures. Here he is next to a couple of tree beards from Lord of the Rings. These guys are pretty much the same height as Swamp Thing here. They're a little bit bigger than an average figure. These guys are great for Poison Ivy plant creations, maybe some friends or enemies of Swamp Thing. And then they also made this very large deluxe Treebeard figure. This one was sort of size accurate compared to the Lord of the Rings figures. This will make a great giant deluxe Poison Ivy monster, maybe tightened up, beefed up, juiced up somehow. She definitely uses things like that often in the comics and cartoons. This could also be a great person to interact with Swamp Thing. And then here he is next to a couple of various plant monsters from the Resident Evil games. These guys here, I got on eBay a long time ago, pretty cheap. Made for some pretty cool Poison Ivy monsters. And then we've got these two Ninja Turtle plant villains. Don't even remember the name off the top of my head. These figures are pretty much garbage, but they hang out at one of my Poison Ivy shelves anyway. And then we've got a couple of these Demogorgon figures from Stranger Things. I always thought their heads opened up like that was sort of plant-like or flower-like. Something that Poison Ivy may have been able to create, sort of a hybrid. And then speaking of Poison Ivy figures, here he is next to all the different Poison Ivy figures I have in my collection. She is definitely going to have some interaction with this guy in my action figure world. Having the two of these guys really meant me to make a custom of Floronic Man. That would be really cool. And here he is next to some larger deluxe Killer Croc figures. These are from both Mattel, DC Direct, and DC Collectibles. These guys all scale up a little bigger than Swamp Thing. Now, these guys are both outcasts for obvious reasons. I've seen them kind of meet up and team up, be kindred spirits in the comics more than once. And then if you prefer your Killer Croc to be regular sized, here he is next to a few other options. And then here he is next to those green-skinned 1990 NECA movie Ninja Turtles. And I saw somebody else do this online. I thought it was pretty cool. Here is Abigail Arcane handing a flower off to Swamp Thing. Next, let's check this guy out compared with some other action figure lines to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise. Here he is next to some DST or Diamond Select Toys action figures. Then here he is next to some McFarlane Toys action figures. And then next to some NECA action figures. And then here he is next to him with his DC Direct and DC Collectibles brothers. Here he is next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And then here he is next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods action figures. And here he is next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse action figures. Then here he is next to some Mafex figures. And here he is next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends figures. And then here he is next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. So all in all, I must say it's a pretty nice figure. I must say I'm happy I didn't buy him when he first came out. This guy had to have been something like $40, at least like $35 originally. Getting him for $12 on Amazon, boy, that's a steal. I really didn't feel like I needed a Swamp Thing figure in my Batman universe, but it's nice to have one for a rainy day, whether it's in the Justice League Dark, Simply with Poison Ivy and Batman, all kind of different occasions you could use a Swamp Thing for. If I were to rate this figure, I'd probably go ahead and give him a 7 out of 10. The fact that I got him for really cheap really makes it easy for me to make an excuse to purchase him. But you know what, this figure is not bad. It's a pretty nice, big, classic looking Swamp Thing. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it in the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.